If nobody ever gives you another job in your life, are you going to wither and die? Are you just going to starve? Are you going to turn to dust? You have to figure out what you can do to survive.
And
Yeah.
Black women talking about they've either been notified that their jobs are being eliminated, or get ready because your jobs will probably be eliminated. So if you could talk to that a little bit, and then how should we prepare? Like if we are in the workforce, or if our children are in the workforce, what can we tell them? How should we prepare based on things that are happening?
Yeah. So it's a little bit of offense and defense. The first and most critical thing that I want to say is that a memorandum informing you that your job has been eliminated and that you will be entitled to certain benefits is not a legal contract. So do not make any decisions based on a memo. And I'm getting this advice from a lawyer. So she said a legally binding severance agreement is never presented in the form of a mass memo. I don't want people to get tricked into giving up benefits. You would think if it's coming from someone in a position of authority that you should trust it. Please don't. Please
Right.
get it in writing and reviewed by an attorney, because you have people here who have been working for the government for decades and have entitlements, pensions and retiree medical and all of these things that you might actually give up if you don't exit the organization properly.
Yes.
So that's the
Yes.
first thing. Second thing is DOGE is the Department of Government Efficiency, I believe. The platform that the administration ran on is smaller government. They're talking about eliminating the Department of Education. They're talking about eliminating the IRS. They don't want to collect taxes. We're not going to even talk about the merits of it, right? They're talking about eliminating the FDA, the NIH, CDC, eliminating, right? So that means the prospects for federal employment are shrinking.
Hmm.
And in order to secure a private sector role, the process is completely different. So if you've never um, or explored employment in the private sector or are not familiar with that process, please get some coaching because it's very different. Your resume has got to be different, a lot shorter than federal resumes. The process is different, and and you also probably need some coaching around your interview skills. All of the things that I do, but I'm not telling you that because I do these things, because you don't have to work with me, but you have to work with somebody, because it's going to be different. And I would hate to see people out there languishing because for lack of knowledge. Put it that way.
That was a gem right there. So I did put in the comments, do not be bullied into resigning, because he knows that everything is not going to stick, but he's banking on the people that don't know that everything is not going to stick for him to at least accomplish some of the what he's deeming draining of the swamp. But if you're in the job market and you're looking for someone to do mock interviews with, to pick her brain. But can you talk a little bit about some before we get into the last two questions, a little bit of some of what you offer?
Yes. So resume revisions, LinkedIn profiles, and I know some of my people just don't like LinkedIn, but it is so important. It is the professional networking platform. Warren Buffett said your network is your net worth. You have got to build a network. You have got to now you should build the net before you need it. So if you're secure in your role, start building it now. If you're not secure in your role, start networking like the house is on fire,
Mhm.
because you're going to need people to pull you through, to put you on the top of the pile, to connect you to the unadvertised opportunities, to hook you up, to introduce you. You need people to do that, and you're going to have to connect with people and let them know what you want and how they can be helpful. And LinkedIn is an extremely efficient way to make that happen. And not to mention that that's the biggest primary tool that recruiters use to find people. So if you could be, you don't have to be applying. I've seen people say, "Oh, I've submitted 200 applications." Well, if you're on LinkedIn and your profile is good, I could be looking for you, and you don't even have to submit an application, because to be honest with you, 9.7 out of 10 jobs that I work on, I don't post. So that's that. LinkedIn profiles, mock interviews. So I've seen people who have paid, you know, tuition to get their resumes done. And they have also worked a lot on their LinkedIn profiles, but when you talk to them, they can't articulate their value proposition. They take too long to get to the point. They don't connect their skills to the role, and it's not going to work. You need practice. And so, again, it doesn't have to be with me. If you have you can go to your alumni career center. You should practice with somebody skilled in behavioral interviewing. I'm happen to be certified in behavioral interviewing, but don't just practice with your homegrown. Practice with somebody who is a trained behavioral interviewer so that they can give you good feedback. And then I also work with aspiring board members. So I work on board bios, board resumes, and board interviews as well.
And Andrea knows everybody. When I look at my LinkedIn and compare it to Andrea, who I think last I saw you had like over 20,000 followers or something like that, something amazing. But looking at I'm buffering, sorry about that. Looking at my network and her network, everybody I know is on her list that she knows as well. And like I said, she's somebody that I think is so key and so important during this time. Andrea also dropped a gem. We have been doing planning for the course, and she dropped a gem for me on me about what she's going to share. Listen, some of y'all are sitting on some assets as far as remote work opportunities in this space. And Andrea is going to share some of those. And it's not just the ones that you have heard about and thought like the tech or the customer service, but creating certain opportunities that I was like, whoa, you can do that living in another country? And she was like, absolutely, because you're not. So anyway, so we're going to share more of that in the during the course. And so I see, listen, I tend to talk too much and we're already at 49 minutes. So I did want to find out, that kind of leads into, the last question before we talk about the events of today. Where are some, without sharing that gem, right? Without dropping what you shared with me yet, because I think that, without sharing that one, where are some of the opportunities? We know that chaos and confusion, one of the favorite sayings, and I think the first time I heard it was through, what's his name? Tony Robbins, never let a good crisis go to waste. There are opportunities that are being presented in the space of DE and I. And so can you share a little, maybe one or two things where you see opportunity and how people can maximize their assets in those areas?
Yes, yes. So there are, first I want to tell you the context, right? So I believe the future of work is not going to be a traditional employer-employee contract. We're moving towards a future where everyone's a free agent and they contract their services, right? So you have a skill and someone engages you for that skill. So the first thing is you have to have a skill. You have to know that you have a skill because many of us have skills and we aren't even aware of it. You have to know what the monetary value of that skill is. You have to know who is interested in that skill. So who your customers are, and then you can make a living off of that. You have to be comfortable with that because so many of us, let's think back, right? Grandma, grandpa, I mean, depending on how old you are, um, they did whatever they did. They hustled. Granny was baking pies, selling dinners at the church. Pop was painting houses, fixing cars, doing whatever. And then had somebody babysitting kids. You had people just doing whatever they knew how to do to make money, and they did not rely on somebody telling them, "I will give you a job."
Exactly.
Right? And then they wanted better for us. They sent us to school. We went to college, whatever, and we got jobs and we got good jobs. And now we think somebody owes us a job. I worked hard. I did what you told me to do. I played by the rules. Now you have to give me a job. If nobody ever gives you another job in your life, are you going to wither and die? Are you just going to starve? Are you going to turn to dust? You have to figure out what you can do to survive. And you have to tap into that ancestral
I love that.
memory. Now, we are survivors of the middle passage. We are the strongest and the luckiest. We made it here. So I have every belief and faith that you can think about what you can do. And if you don't, this is why you need a network. You got to ask somebody, because somebody else will be able to tell you what you can do that other people can't do, that somebody would pay for. And keep thinking about that. Keep asking the question. And
Mhm.
let me tell you something, even if you have a job, even if you have a good job, ask the question. Come up with 2 or 3 things that you could do, that you could fall back on, just in case, you get that tap on the shoulder. Because when you get tapped on the shoulder, it's kind of hard to think when you're in that position. Okay, so that's the perspective that I'm coming from. What can you do?
Check out our full interview with Andrea here for all of the gems on what to do next. And don't forget to subscribe.